Hello, this is Kristen Fagan here with a new episode of Free Spirit Beading on the Softflex Company YouTube channel. Welcome. If you're new here, please subscribe. Today we are going to be working on a macrame bracelet using Softflex beading wire and some beads from a bead mix that we currently have on sale called Metallic Sparkles. So it'll be a mixed metals style bracelet. We're going to use Softflex beading wire in antique brass color. And then the beads in the mix have a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, some copper, antique brass in there. Really fun mix. So who do we have here today? Hey Deb and Gail and Becky, Happy New Year. Missed you guys last week. Just woke up with a headache. Sometimes that happens, and whenever I wake up with it, I have a hard time kicking it, and my body was just like, nope. It was not ready. Hey Deb, Dahlia Designs, great to see you today. So yeah, we've got 25% off at softflexcompany.com. We've got 25% off all of our custom bead strands and bead mix. So we've got, I'm gonna put the table down and show you guys which ones those are. And then we've also got 25% off our Trios multicolor beading wire packs. So I'm also gonna share with you some fun Valentine's Day inspired packs that we have on there, but really you can get any of them. I think we have somewhere between 25 and 30 different groupings, combinations of packs on there for you to shop at. So 25% off is an awesome deal for Trios and for these bead strands. Let's turn down. Fern's here. Hi, Fern. Hi, Abby. Hey, Karen. Yeah, glad you caught me too. Great to see everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Staying healthy on this fine Monday. Hi, Marianne. All right, so couple of goodies. We've got these brand new bead strands that are a complement to our Valentine Passion monthly beading kit. We've got, that's our mystery kit for this month. I think we're like 67, 70% sold out. And Sarah will be doing the unboxing and the design challenge with that kit at the end of this month. We do that the last Wednesday of the month. So you can pick it up anytime leading up to then. And once they're gone, they're gone. So once they sell out, we don't bring any more in. You just have to wait for the next kit. So this is what's called the Valentine Passion Bead Strand 2. It is the purple variety, and it's made and designed exclusively for us at Softflex Company. It's normally $10.49, I believe, and now it's about $7 and change. So really great deal on that one. Pretty, if you are a purple lover, pretty colors. And I should show you, because it's hard to see in the picture on the website, there are these really pretty little heart crystal beads that have like an AB finish on them at the end. Maybe we'll just do a little close-up of the strand so you guys can see. I love this one. See, a bunch of them have this really pretty sparkle. Marianne says, so glad they aren't pink. Yeah, we decided to, we've had a bunch of pink projects in the past for Valentine's Day, but we decided to go with red and purple for like a red hot and passionate purple look. So this is the bead strand 1, Valentine Passion bead strand 1, and this is the red. Super pretty and classic. I love these little like potato chip beads, spacer beads in there that are on the two sides of the square, giving that a really nice look together. Yes, beautiful JJBs. They make them specially for us at Softflex Company for our kits. So we get a limited supply of strands in, and then we usually have mixes that we share once we unveil the kit. So those two are on sale. We also still have some of our silver sparkles, and that's the one I used in this necklace design here. I combined it with the matte onyx beads and the little oval onyx beads. You can find these at softflexcompany.com in the onyx section. I purchased these during one of our live sales, and this strand, the silver sparkle strand, is 25% off right now. And the deal is good until tomorrow, January 12th at midnight Pacific time. I made the necklace and the earrings. I think we did the earrings on the previous Free Spirit Beading video, and we did the necklaces on the video prior to that. So that's the silver sparkles, and then we also have the gold sparkles. So this is the earrings we made with the gold sparkles. And this is the necklace made with the gold sparkle. So for this one, I had used these glass Venetian beads squares in the front here. And we sell stuff like this on the Softflex Company live sale, which is over on our Facebook page. We do that every few weeks, and you can pick up one-of-a-kind unique beads. That's where we picked where I had gotten these from. And these beads here are all from the gold sparkles bead strand, which is also on sale, 25% off. Someone said they just got their onyx beads. Who was that? Oh, Deb, great. Your onyx beads just got there yesterday. Awesome. Did you get some of the matte onyx? Oh, I just love it. And I put this magnetic clasp. We sell these too. They are hammered magnetic clasp made by our friends over at Tiara Cast. And I've been wearing this necklace to kind of test it out, and it's really a great clasp. Holds really strong. You have to kind of slide it to the side to open because of the strength. And I think I'm actually going to use the antique brass one for today's project. Hi, Deborah, welcome. And then the end of this necklace used our little hook and eye clasp from Tiara Cast as well. You can find that one on the website too. It's another one in that hammered style. So you can get that kind of clasp. You can get the magnetic clasp in the hammer style. And then we have a few different toggles as well in that same hammered look. All right, so before I show you today's project, I just want to share some trios packs with you. So let's do that next. Let's see if I can remember what is what. So this is the only pack we have with our bright red, like true red color, red coral. It's called the Sophisticated Trios, and it's got red coral, black onyx, and antique brass, which is what I'm going to be using today on the macrame, our antique brass color. So that's the Sophisticated Trios. Then we've got our classic Be My Valentine Trios, which are these three colors, the pink tourmaline, the pink rhodochrosite, and then this is another one of our reds, but it's the spinel. So it's a little bit softer. So you'll see the difference here. This is the red coral. This is like a bright true red, and then this one's a little bit softer. This one matches that Valentine Passion really, really well. Next up, we've got the Romance Trios, and that just swaps the spinel for the white. So you get the pink tourmaline, the pink rhodochrosite, and the white quartz soft flex beading wire, and that is your Romance Trio. Now let's see. I believe this is Mystical. I might have to check myself first, though, before I show it to you. That looks more like it. Yeah. Okay. This one's our Mystical color. So this is the one that has purple. And so it's got the pink tourmaline. It's got our garnet, which is a little bit darker, and our purple amethyst. So this would be a great one to go with the purple strand, Valentine Passion, but you could also get away with it, I think, on the red too. So this would be a good one to grab both of them. So you've got a little bit deeper of a red wire you could use. And just to show you the difference, because I've got all three reds here, I might as well show you. These are the three different red colors that we carry at Soft Flex Company. The red coral, the garnet, and the spinel. So red coral's the brightest, the garnet's going to be the deepest, and then the spinel is close to the red, but just a little softer. So I am going to work with the first one I showed you, which was Sophisticated. And that one again has the black, the red coral, and the antique. Yes, there's also red jasper fern. You're right. I don't have that one out because that tends to be more of like a brown red. So it's a good fall color. But yeah, we have red jasper too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that one bead in the red strand looks orange. Let's see. This one here is probably a little bit, has a little more orange in it than say this bead. This one's probably the truest red, or these little ones here. So there's a little bit of orange, but I wouldn't call it orange. When you're looking at it in person, it still feels like a red to me. But if you paired it with other orangey tones, it probably could go to the orange side more. You know what I mean? Like it might be one of those colors that can kind of go either way. Okay, so I'm going to be using this lovely color, the antique brass wire, and I'm going to be doing that with the metallic bead mix. This is the Metallic Sparkles bead mix. It was the one that was included in the kit if you got our Metallic Sparkles kit last month, which is now sold out. But the bead mix is still available, and this is currently 25% off as well. So I'm going to pair this color wire, which actually I think if you got the kit, you would have gotten this color wire in there too. And we are going to make a macrame bracelet. These are all beads from that bead mix. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me figure out how to not have this. There we go. I think that got rid of some of the weird lighting coming in my window. That's better. So first thing I do, I'm gonna just pull out some of these beads here. And and pretty excited about this project. I always enjoy doing some macrame, and it's been a while since I've done some with you guys here. Does anybody want to learn macrame? Is that something you're hoping to learn in the new year, or maybe revisit it if you haven't done it in a while? So I'm just going to give you a little show and tell of the beads in the metallic sparkles bead mix. There's one of these little bubbles. There's these two larger beads. You get 4 tassels, which these little tiny tassels are sometimes fun to like bunch up and put them all on like one little jump ring together, make like one big tassel. Fern and Abby both say yes. Awesome. Yeah, I saw, if you guys are in the Great Bead Extravaganza group, there was a great question asking everyone what their New Year's, like what are some things they want to learn. And I did see macrame show up on there for a bunch of people, which inspired me to go ahead and show this today. These are really neat shaped bead. You actually get 4. I used one right in the center here on this design. You get a bunch of these little black rectangles that have like a crystal look to them. Marianne says it's been a very long time. Time for a refresher, huh? Some copper bead caps. This is such a fun mix. I love having all of these different metals to mix and match together. There's some antique brass spacers. Those of you that may have picked this up already, I hope you enjoyed it. What did you think when you got this bead mix? These are really neat. They're like cathedral beads. If you've ever seen the Czech glass cathedral beads, very similar. And they have the, they're clear on the sides with the gold on the top. Fern says it's one of her favorite mixes. It really is gorgeous. I mean, I would definitely pick up a few of these, because not only are they really pretty to mix and match together, there's so many great components to have on hand for other projects. So you got the clear in 2 different sizes, the smaller and the large. Like, it's so nice to always have stuff like this around, just as little spacer beads. Cool shape. And I love how much these sparkle. And then lastly, this is a really fun little teardrop. And the only one I didn't show, because I used them all in the bracelet already, are these came in the mix too. So these really pretty rhinestone beads right there. Oh, and these. These are gorgeous, and I used them in the bracelet, so they weren't in the mix. They have a 2-tone effect. So everything you see here was done from that mix. I didn't open any, I just opened the one, and this is what I have left over. Truly sparkly, Paula says. Fern says it was one of her favorites. Deb really enjoyed it too. Yeah. It's super pretty. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bracelet off, and I'm gonna put this one aside because I will show you at the end how to just finish this off. And we're gonna start on a new one so I can show you the beginning process. Let's see, let me organize a little bit. So I'm using a mini macrame board. You can find this at softflexcompany.com. It's a great little board. I think it goes to, yeah, goes to 6 across and 9 inches down. So it's wonderful for bracelets or earrings. And then if you needed something longer, you can always like reposition your design up a little bit. Tons of notches, so you can have multiple projects going on at once. We're only going to be using this row to create our macrame bracelet, so you can have multiple bracelets happening at the same time. It's considered a self-healing board, meaning you can poke it with needles and stuff like that, and it's not going to leave a really deep mark. It'll self-heal back together, and all of these little notches down both sides are great for using Softflex wire because Softflex has a nylon coating, so it does slide out. If you were to just try and do it like a traditional macrame on a cardboard piece or something like that, you may have a little bit harder time maneuvering it or keeping it in the notches. This kind of board really holds it in there. So I highly recommend it if you like Softflex and you might be using it with that. I do macrame on it. You can also do wrap bracelets. You can also do a few other designs. I know Sarah's done a bunch of different things with it, not just macrame, but it just is a great place to hold what you're working on. So what I've got down here are the 2 middle strands. So you're going to need 7 feet total of whatever you're working with. You can mix and match colors. So if you want your understrands to be a different color, you can do 2 feet of one color and then 5 feet of your wrapping strand color. I'm just sticking with all one color today. So I'm using the antique brass color, and it's the 0.019 medium Softflex beading wire, and I've got 2 12-inch strands here tucked in to the notch at the top and the notch at the bottom. And you'll see on the back, it's just tucked in like that. And I have a bead stopper at the top. I've got each wire in its own little coil, and that just holds the wires in place so I can tug on it and pull on it, and it's not gonna break free from the notch there. Marianne's waiting for her board. Oh, I hope it comes soon. I know everything is so slow. It's like we're not used to things taking so long to get to get from one place to the next, but it just is right now. So you've got 12 inches of each strand here, and then your knotting strand is going to be 5 feet or 60 inches. And what you're going to do is you're going to find the center of your strand. You've got it placed behind those 2 middle strands. You find your center, and then we're going to create our first knot. And I'm going to try and zoom in even closer here, see if I can get a nice close look. So you see I've got my knotting wire behind the 2 strands. I found the center. This is the center of my really long strand. I'm going to take my right side. I'm going to loop it. So it's right now it's under. I'm going to loop it over the middle strands. And then I'm going to take the left side, go over this strand here, then under the 2 middle, and pull through the loop. And that's going to give you your first knot. And then you just want to kind of tug it tight. And I always feel like I need something underneath me to prop up my board for you a little bit. Let me put a book under here and see if that helps. Okay, that feels a little bit better. So now I did my first half of the knot on the right side, And I'm gonna do the same thing on the left. So I'm gonna create my loop, go over those two strands in the middle. Then I'm gonna take this strand on the right, go over this wire coming there, under the two strands, and pull through the loop. Becky says, because of the way my left hand's in, I'll have to practice a lot on that. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're creating our loop over the two middle strands, over that strand, under the two middle, and through the loop that we created. And then we're going to go back to the left. So we're just swapping each side. Create our loop over the middle. Yeah, it's definitely something where you have to have good movement of your hands, because there's a lot of coming around and going through. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do 3 full knots. So a full knot is when you do the right side and then you do the left side. That's considered a full knot. And that's called a square knot. And if you ever have to stop and come back to know where you were, I always look to see where is this little loop there. So this little loop means that I did that side last. Let me pull it a little tighter and see if you can see it better. So you'll see this one's got the loop there. So I did that one last, and then I'll come back and do this one. The other thing, oh, you can tell, is like it started to twist. So that means I was actually on the other side. Well, let me pull that one through. Let me pull that one loose again. That's another way to tell if you went to the wrong side, is if your macrame starts to twist, then you went to the wrong side. So since my loop is coming, my wire's coming out there, I should have done that side first. And then I go back to this one. Once you're ready to add your beads, you just take your 2 strands from the notch here, and then we're going to slide them on. So the only caveat is the beads you're using have to pass through 2 strands of wire. And almost all of them did, except for those itty bitty silver beads. But all of the other one, I was able to get through the 2 strands. And then just pull it all the way up. And I'm just going to do 1 full knot in between each bead. So slide the bead on the center, and now we're going to do a knot on the one side, on the right, and then we're going to do a knot on the left. And then you can add on another bead. And what's nice about having the notches on the side is you can actually pull your wire to the side to hold that in place while you go and find your next bead. I think I'll use this little clear one next. And then I'm gonna do one full knot again. So I'm gonna do the right side. And then I'm gonna do the left side. And you can give soft flex a really good tug to kind of get it in there. You don't have to be worried about pulling it too taut and hurting the wire in any way. String on your next bead, and then I'm gonna do the knot on the right. And the knot on the left. And you'll notice that when you do that first knot, it's gonna sort of bounce back a little bit. And that's okay. You just, when you go to pull this down and get closer, you can just kind of tug it and then tug that one next. And that'll make sure. And you see there's a little bit difference, like when you got the rectangle, you're gonna have a little bit of wire coming off the side. And when you're using a round bead, it's gonna really set on that bead. Slide your next bead up, make your loop on the right, cross over the center, come down, under, through that loop you made. And then do the same thing on the left. Create the loop, come down, under, through the loop you made, and then pull it. I always feel like once you get going, you can kind of see what's happening a little bit better than in the beginning. In the beginning, it's always hard to kind of get the macrame board on screen and really show you what's happening. Abby asked, what's the best size wire? You can do really any diameter that will fit through your beads is fine. If you use the fine, it's just not gonna have as much body as the medium. I always prefer the medium personally. I haven't used the heavy, but if the heavy will fit through, if 2 strands of the heavy will fit through your beads, you can always use the heavy too. I will say the medium, 2 strands of the medium is gonna fit through most beads. And then it also comes in the most colors. So if you wanna use different colors, and you can decide to change your knots between your beads. I'm just doing 1 knot between the beads on this one. I'm doing a right side and a left side to create 1 complete knot. And that's what I did here too. So it's just a right side and a left side. There's just 1 knot in between each of these beads. Or you can decide to do multiple. This is 6 knots and then a bead. So that's up to you if you want to change it and show more of the wire part, or if you want it to be more beady and have lots of beads in there. I have a few examples. Hold on just a minute. And I will grab and show you guys some other ones we've done on previous videos. So this one is done with the Dark Heart Trios. It's got 2 wires, color, it's got black and pink. On this one's called the spiral knot, and I do have a tutorial on this one. So if you just look at our macrame playlist, you'll find a bunch of different tutorials. I have this one I did with the 4th of July, and in this case did 2 knots in between. And then these particular beads were too small to string on 2 strands in one like I did with this one. So they're just strung on their own. So they're just sort of side by side hanging out in there. So that's possible too. And then here's another one with the spiral where it's mostly the wire with just a few little beads sprinkled throughout. I think this might be the first one I've ever done where I just did 1 knot in between and left it mostly beads. And I created 6 knots on either end. But you could even just do 2 knots or something there too. You don't even have to do that many if you didn't want to. The other nice thing about the macrame board is that you have the measurements down the side, so you can see, okay, when I get to about 3 or 3.5, then that's where my center is going to be. And so if I want a focal or a little focal bead, I'm going to want to put it somewhere in there while I'm working. So I'm going to stop here and I'm just going to show you guys how you'd finish it now. Yeah, the knot looks really, really cool. And I feel like Softlex just elevates macrame a little bit, you know, like it just makes it a little fancier, especially because you've got these cool, really neat colors that you can play with. You can do it with the silver, you can do it with the gold, the brass, the copper. All of those would be really cool wire colors. All right, so I'm gonna finish it. You can finish these a couple of different ways. Let me see what my examples show here. Yeah, most of the time I do it that way. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is you've got on one end, this is the end that you start with. You end up just having 2 wires come out of this end because your wrapping wire starts here. And so this is easy, you know, you just crimp at the end like you normally would. It's just the 2 strands. On the other end, however, you're gonna have 4 wires. So this gets a little trickier because 4 wires are not gonna go through one 2x2 crimp tube. So you can decide to either use 3x3 on this side, or what I like to do is I like to just separate them, and I like to crimp 2 and 2. This way I can keep my crimps small, use the little 2x2 crimps and the magical crimping pliers, and it keeps it a little more symmetrical, or at least a little bit closer in my opinion. I'll show you what I mean. Becky, love the big bead on the pink one with the black roses. Yeah, that one we used, I think this was last year. We did, the kit was called Dark Heart, and so it was pinks and blacks and silver was what we were going with, and they were from that mix, that rose mix. Penny did macrame pieces back in the 70s, ordered a tying station, and I think that will work for macrame. Yeah, tying stations usually do, especially if you're using types of thread or hemp or something that will tie on and stay easily. Softlex is a little bit trickier because of the nylon coating, so you do have to be, it may not work on all tying stations in the same way. So I'm pulling out some 2x2 millimeter crimp tubes. I'm going to use my magical crimping plier, and I think I'm going to use another one of these cool magnet clasps. So we've got this color here, which is the antique brass. The red bracelets. Do you mean these here? Do you mean this one? There is a tutorial for this. It's called the Spiral Knot Macrame. It might say Dark Heart in the name. Damien, if you could post the macrame playlist, that would show all of the macrame designs that I just shared with you guys. You could even do the gold if you wanted to really highlight the gold. So we've got gold, copper, silver, and the antique brass, which is what I'm going to use to match my wire. All right, so I'll start with the 2-strand side first, I think, because this is more a traditional way of ending to your clasp. Slide on your crimp tube. Then I'm just going to put my clasp on one strand. So the crimp tube is slit on both strands. I have the clasp on one, and then I go back into my crimp tube. So the macrame playlist, Damien just shared that link, so you guys can click on that. And I'll share it in the description after the video. I'll go ahead and get that added. So I'm just going to place my crimp right in the center of my magical crimping plier and give it a nice squeeze. What it's going to do is pinch the 4 corners, turn it into like a little ravioli. See how the 4 corners are pinched there? And then you're going to turn it on its side, place it back in the center. You do have to be a little careful because your magnetic clasp is going to want to stick to your tool. So just make sure that it's not preventing you from getting that nice and centered. And then you go around a few times to really round out that bead. So if I open up my tool, you see that crimp is right there in the center notch, and I'm squeezing it and then rotating it. And now we can trim off our excess wire. So we want to trim off this one here and this one here. And this one's sticking up here. And there we've got a nice connection. I can even come back and get even closer on this piece here. What I like to do is grab it with my cutters and just kind of pull it away from my loop and get as close to my crimp as possible, and then I can trim off that excess wire. And now on the other side's going to get a little interesting. So we're going to separate the two into 2 and 2 groups. Slide the crimp tube on one side, just like that. And then I'll slide the other crimp tube on the other 2 strands. So you've got a little bit just like that. And the reason I have to do that, like I said in the beginning, is that these crimp tubes are good up to 3 strands of the medium soft flex beading wire. So if I wanted to just group them all together and crimp them that way, I really have to go to the next size crimp, which is a 3x3 millimeter, and you'll have to use the mighty crimper with that. So since I want to keep my crimps the same size on both sides, and I want to use my magical crimper because it makes a nice little bead, I am going to just do this little separation. So now we got to take one strand from each of the 2 groupings. So here's one, string it onto the clasp and back down that crimp that it comes in. Oops, sorry, didn't realize I wasn't on camera. And pull that one down. So now I've got one connected on one side, and then I'm going to connect on the other side. Yeah, when you're using the magical crimping plier, it's specifically made for 2x2 crimp tubes. The notch in the center just fits that size. So that's the only crimp size to use if you're using the magical crimper. If you're using a different crimper, then you may be able to just go up a crimp size without a problem. Okay, so see what I've got going on here? Basically what I did on this side, I did twice on this side. So both the crimps are there, they're attached to the clasp, and then the wire's coming back down, and now I can bring my crimping pliers in and I can do my crimping. So I'm gonna slide my crimp right into the center notch of that crimping plier, squeeze it like that, and then I'm gonna either turn my plier or my crimp, whichever is easier in this position here. It might be easier to just turn my plier. Squeeze it again and go around. It is a little tricky because they're right next to one another. You want to make sure that you can get in there for both. So now I'm going to do my second one. And I could even unhook it, and that might alleviate some of my issue there. That's better. Let's go make sure they're both. And then I can trim off all these little pieces of excess wire. So there's that one standing up. Just make sure you don't trim your loops. So before you really click that cutter, just give an extra look and make sure. Fern, I can't do the same on both sides because there's 4 wires coming out of one side and 2 wires coming out of the other side. So I have to be creative. And 4 wires do not fit through a 2x2 crimp tube. And really you need, so this side just has 2 wires coming up. You have to go around and go back down. So you've got 3 wires in that crimp tube. And then on this side, you've got the same thing, 2, 3 coming down, 2, 3 coming down. The other option you can do is use a larger crimp. Well, I thought I had an example of that. I don't see it. Hold on just a second. Let me see if I've got. This is a different bracelet, but this one shows what it would look like if you're using a 3x3 crimp tube. So your other option, if you don't want to do two like that, you can do the large 3x3 on this side, and then you can do the regular 2x2 on this side. Well, you have 4 wires, so I'm not really sure, Susie, what you're asking. Can you use 1 wire in each crimp and turn them back? You can, then you'd have 4 crimps here. If you wanted to do that, you would have 2 crimps on this side and 4 crimps on this side. So in this scenario, because I can fit 3 wires in, I do 2 wires in the 1 crimp and then 2 wires and then 2 wires. So I'll show you, you know what, I'll show you an example on this one. This is kind of funny because Softflex has stainless steel as its core, so these magnetic clasps do kind of want to connect to the Softflex wire there. So if I was to do it the other way with the larger crimp, I'll do it on this example to show you. The other thing I have with the larger crimps is it only comes in sterling and copper color. Oh yeah, your name says Susie CB, so that's why I said Susie. So you're Suzanne. So on the 2 wire side, I would do two wires down the 2x2 crimp tube, and then take the 1 wire down and make my loop like that. So that would be the one side, and then the other side has 4 strands, so I'd have to go up to 3x3 millimeter, and 3x3 millimeters only come in sterling or copper, so they wouldn't be the same metal tone unless I went and did like a crimp cover or something on top. Or I could do silver or copper on the other side with the 2x2. So then you'd put the 3 millimeter down all 4. And then you can just take 1 strand back down, just like you do on the other side. Attach that to the clasp. So that you're creating the loop there. And you'd have to use your different crimping pliers. So you'd have to use the Mighty crimping pliers. Place that in the back, your notch, put it in the front notch, close it like that, and then go around a few times just to really cinch it in. So that would be the one connection on that side, and then I would have the smaller connection on this side. And if you wanted to, you can use the regular crimping plier on this side too, so that they're both in more of the tube shape. And then trim off your excess. once I trim it off on this side, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So trim off all of these wires. And so in this scenario, you'd have the bigger crimp on one end and the smaller crimp on the other. Suzanne, if you want to make one and show me what you're talking about, that sounds great. I'm just not wrapping my head around it at the moment. So this is one possibility with the larger on one side and the smaller on the other side. This is not a bad option if you're, if I use silver or copper where I've got that tone in the 3x3 crimp and I can at least have the same tone on each end. Since I was using the gold, I went ahead and did it this way. And that's what I did on these two, is I did the one crimp with the black, the gunmetal blackened, and then the two crimps with the gunmetal blackened on this side. On these particular ones with the toggle, I attached them to jump rings and then added the toggle. So they've got the two on this side and the one on this side. So that's just how I like to do it. But this is always an option too, is to go to the bigger crimp. Now you don't want to do a bigger crimp on this side because there's just not enough wire. It's just going to slide out. It's not going to stay secure. So you have to use the smaller one here and the bigger one here. So hope that helps explain that a little bit better. This is kind of cute. I might just turn this into my little keychain holder or something. I did that last time with one of my little macrame examples. Just slide it onto a key ring and put a little bead at that one end, and I'll have a little holder, a little keychain holder. All right, guys, that is it for me today. I hope that helped and you enjoyed learning a little bit more of the macrame possibilities with Softlex. I do love how the wire looks when it's nice and all pulled in together like that. Ooh. Just as a reminder, we've got 25% off of the bead mixes, the bead strands we saw, and all of the trios packs. It matches with my nail polish too. Yeah, I just looked at my hands today and was like, I think I have to paint them before today's video. So yeah, 25% off at softlexcompany.com for all the bead mixes. The bead mix I showed, the strands I showed, and all of the trios multicolor beading wire packs. Great deal till tomorrow, January 12th. And then we do have a few videos coming up this week. We've got Sarah on the Softlex Company Facebook page on Wednesday, January 13th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And then we have a live beading party on the Softlex Facebook page on Thursday with me and Sarah. And we have a special guest, Sam Segal from Sam's Bead Shop. So looking forward to that. That's January 14th at 3 p.m. Pacific time over on the Softlex Company Facebook page. And then I'll be back here again on Monday for a new episode of Free Spirit Beading. At 3. If you want to share, Suzanne, are you in our? Pamela says, I understand what Suzanne was saying. She wants 2 crimps. Let me see what she's saying here. Let me pull it back up. She wants 2 crimps on each side, so you would only insert one strand and fold it back. Oh yeah, you totally can do that, yes. So if you want it to have the look of being 2 crimps here and 2 crimps here, you can do that. I think I just always want to save that extra crimp. I don't want to have to use 2 crimps. But yes, you can do one strand through, one strand back, and that would give you symmetry on the back of your bracelet of having 2 crimps here and 2 crimps here. Thank you, Pamela. That was just totally going over my head when we were talking about it. I just wasn't quite grasping what you meant. Suzanne, is that what you were thinking? I hope so. That makes total sense now. And that would give you symmetry on both ends of your bracelet if you wanted to do that. It happens to us all. Yeah, I think sometimes when you're in this tunnel zone, it's hard to say what's going on over there? What do you mean? So hopefully that answers your question. Yes, you can do 2 crimps on each side to make that a little more symmetrical. I tend to just use as little many crimps as I have to when I can. So I think that's why I tend to do the 2 in 1. But yeah, either works. All right, you guys have a wonderful week. Good night, and I will see you guys here next Monday, and I'll also see you over on Facebook on Thursday afternoon. Bye.